Hello, everybody. Hello, boys and girls. This is the new episode of the Volley Talks. Today is Friday, June 4th of 2020. Here in Mexico City, it's 7 p.m. And I can assume that in Hawaii, it's 2 p.m. right now. I'm very glad that today in the episode 164, received the 2021 NCAA Division One men's volleyball champion coach from the University of Hawaii, Mr. Charlie Wade. Charlie, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thanks a lot.
Aloha, thanks for having me on.
Oh, no, I'm very, very, very glad. And well, thanks to Milan Sarkovic. Milan Sarkovic made the connection with you. Thanks a lot. I first met Milan Sarkovic 2 years ago when he came to Mexico for Pan Am Cup with the men's national team as a head coach. He was here last year in the show, and well, after the championship you won, I contacted him, and he told me, "Hey, you gotta talk with Charlie Wade, great guy." Milan told me, "Hey, please say Charlie for me that I think he's the best coach right now in U.S. volleyball."
Very nice, thank you.
How's everything in Hawaii, Charlie?
Oh, good. You know, just it's been kind of a whirlwind few weeks since the championship, but in a good way. You know, a lot of people very excited about the program's success, and you know, it was quite a journey, but thrilled to finally bring home that championship.
Yes, I know. You were the runner-up, right? 2 years ago versus
Yes.
Long Beach.
Yes.
Long Beach, the back-to-back champion in 19 and 19, right?
Yep.
What do you think it changed from 2 years ago to right now to this season? That it's the first championship for Hawaii, right?
Well, we won in 2002 also, but there was some NCAA issues. That was before I got here, but so the team did win in 2002. But you know, that's a little bit in dispute, but there's no question about us winning here in 21.
Perfect, amazing, and well, big celebrations in Hawaii. They received you very, very well. It's big news for the program and for the university.
Yeah, no question, for the whole state. You know, it's volleyball is a big deal here. You know, we've in 2019 we averaged maybe about 5,500 fans in attendance. With a few sellout crowds. We play in a 10,000 seat arena. And then 2020, we would have averaged over 7,000. Again, all the games are live on TV, live on radio. So volleyball is a big deal here. It's been a big part of the community for many decades. So a lot of people very excited to see Hawaii win another championship.
Volleyball is big in the University of Hawaii or in the whole state of Hawaii?
The whole state. You know, the volleyball, you know, the women's program was national champions on 4 different occasions, and volleyball, they also get great attendance. So the volleyball fans in Hawaii are just rabid for volleyball, and the beach program's been successful. And certainly with our men's team over the last, 5-6 years, we've been having increasingly better crowds and just a lot of support for the program in the community.
Amazing. And how important is a club volleyball in Hawaii for the program in the university?
Well, high school and club are both popular here with boys and girls. You know, there's lots of boys and girls players that have come from Hawaii over the decades. So yeah, it is very popular. My sons are playing club volleyball now with Outrigger Canoe Club, and which has a long history with Olympians and national champions, and the current national team setter, Micah Christensen, and both the Shoji boys played for Outrigger. So long tradition of high-level volleyball in Hawaii.
And well, my mate, Taylor Avery, who is now playing the national team, he attended Hawaii a few years ago, right?
Who's that?
Taylor Avery.
Oh, yeah. Taylor came to us, yeah. Started as a setter, played opposite for a year, and then transitioned to middle, and really has become one of the best middles in the world. Had a great season in France, and is competing with the U.S. national team now, and certainly very hopeful that he makes the roster for Tokyo.
I hope so. I hope so too, because I like him. He's a real character, Taylor Averill.
He is. He's had quite a journey too. It's not all been smooth sailing for him, but he's every time he's faced an obstacle, he's continued to persevere and come out of it stronger and a better player and a better person. So just thrilled for him and proud of his success.
It's pretty impressive for me. The videos Taylor Averill upload in Instagram. He prepares very, very well. He works a lot in his physical.
Yeah, no doubt. He, when he came to us, he was a little doughy. He was always a little chubby guy in high school and had a nice arm, but wasn't the physical specimen that he is now. And that started in his college career, where he really knuckled down and transformed his body and was one of the best players in the U.S. when he left college, and certainly continued as a professional.
Yeah, and I think he was a champion in the last French championship with Cannes.
Correct.
Amazing. Well, hello to Taylor Averill if he's seeing us. Charlie, I am aware that international recruiting has been very important, especially for Hawaii program. What can you tell us about that? Because you have the MVP now playing with Bulgaria, Rado Paradunov, and Jakob Taylor from Norway, and two guys from Greece, Philip Humbler from Czech Republic, and Guilherme Voss from Brazil. How important this is international recruit for the program?
Well, there's no question it's important, and I think it's it's pretty impactful in all of college athletics in the U.S. Not just volleyball. You see a lot of the top teams have international players. Certainly BYU that we played in the final has international players on it, and traditionally always has. And you see throughout college athletics, whether it's tennis, golf, water polo, track and field, basketball, certainly lots of international players throughout all of college athletics.
Yeah, right. But there are a lot of great volleyball players, especially in Europe, right? And I can assume that they can, for them, it can be a very interesting opportunity to go to play in NCAA and play in Hawaii.
Well, yeah, I think the model works well because, as you know, there's, whether it's in Europe or South America or even in Asia, the system's really not set up to be both a student and a high-level volleyball player. You kind of have to pick, right? So if you're interested in getting a college degree, you either do that or you play professionally, play at a high level. And the U.S. model allows you to do both. You can come to the U.S., study, you get a degree, and continue to play volleyball at a really high level.
Yeah, of course. And do you see another possible prospects for Hawaii in Europe?
Yeah, we're always looking. That process never really ends. They're always looking for players, whether it's here locally in Hawaii or throughout the U.S. or anywhere on the planet. Every guy on our team, at one point I went and met with them and met with the family and sat in their living room and built a relationship with them to bring them here. And that's something that we'll continue to do. And we're always looking everywhere on the planet for players that can come in and contribute and play at a high level and are serious students. That's another part of it too, where you have to be a serious student. And unfortunately for us too, the university offers reduced tuition for high achieving academic students. So it's worked out well for us.
Great. I have a message from Milan Sarkovic. He says Milan says he desires, he wants that Charlie Wade can be more involved in U.S. national team. Have you ever been with the national team?
Yeah, when I was on the women's side, we took a team to Argentina. I believe it was 2007. But I now have 3 young boys that take up a lot of my time when I'm not coaching. So that's something I'm really interested in right now, maybe at some point in the future. But my job at Hawaii keeps me plenty busy enough. And, between my wife and family, that's where I choose to spend the time when I'm not working for the university.
Yeah, right. Can you tell us something about your beginnings in as a coach? Did you play in NCAA, or what? How you turned to be a coach? I know that you started in Fullerton, then Hawaii Pacific. Can you tell us something about that?
Yeah, I went to high school in a small town in northern Indiana where there's no volleyball. So I didn't start playing volleyball. I moved to Southern California in 1981 and started playing there. Played C college, played a lot of beat Roger Goodwin and Art Garcia with the Chabon Volleyball Club. And that again is early 80s, 83, 84. And so started coaching club then, and then started my own club around 87. And at that same time, I did get an assistant coaching job at Cal State Fullerton. So I was Division I assistant in 1987, and just kind of kept coaching and kept coaching club, and came to Hawaii for the first time in 1995, where I was assistant coach with Dave Shoji for 11 years. And, it's something that, I didn't really start out thinking I was going to do it as long as I have. When I came to Hawaii originally, it was only for 4 months, but it's turned out to be a lot longer than that.
You mentioned Coach David Choji. Which do you think is the impact of a person like David Choji, not just in Hawaiian volleyball, but in American volleyball?
Well, he came in at a time, when Title IX really they increased the number of scholarships. So Dave and Andy Banikowski and still coaching is still Russ Rose. I mean, these guys really took the sport to another level. Terry Pettit with Nebraska, and really saw the sport, grow and grow, and gone from, not a big sport with maybe just a few dozen teams, and the NCAA tournament was only 24 teams and then 32 teams, and to see now with over 330 Division I women's teams and a 64 team bracket, those guys all coached for 40 something years, and really were the founding fathers of collegiate volleyball in this country.
You're right. Charlie, which persons could you say has been your role models or your influencers during your career as a coach?
Well, I look back and starting, and what got me into coaching probably was a man who was a little league coach of mine when I was young boy in Indiana, a guy by the name of Larry Long, who was just a great father, great husband, a great role model, and somebody that I really looked up to, and didn't really think at the time, but as I got older and thought about coaching, that someone, I'd like to emulate and have that kind of positive impact on young people's lives.
Okay. And somebody in the NCAA environment, in the national team environment?
Well, certainly, Dave Shoji bringing me to Hawaii in '95, and and learning from him, just how to deal with the job itself. Collegiate volleyball is a lot more than just coaching. It's not just about the ball and about the X's and O's. There's a lot about, and even more so in a place like Hawaii, where there's so much media attention, and you're such a significant member in the community, and there's fundraising opportunities, and it really is a multifaceted job. It's like running a corporation more than just going in the gym and breaking out the balls and running practice.
Great, perfect. What do you think about the future of volleyball in U.S. soil? I mean, maybe a pro league. This year American Athletes Unlimited Volleyball started in the women's side. Do you think there's room in the United States for a pro men's league?
Yeah, well, there's been attempts over decades. People have tried, and yeah, I mean, one, you're fighting a battle because there is the NFL and the NBA and Major League Baseball that are, so well established. There's so much money involved. It's hard to get people to start playing, and it even trickles down to the college because there's so few scholarships in men's volleyball, only 4.5. So there's not a lot of incentive to people to play at a young level, not the scholarship money. There's not a professional league. I mean, certainly the game is popular, and you see the popularity that that our team and other teams can draw. And the highest level teams playing are really entertaining, and people enjoy watching it. So I mean, there's hope that that it can continue to grow. I just think that they haven't found the business model yet, right? I mean, they haven't got the point where there's either a corporate sponsor or they're able to do it, to keep players here, to run a professional league. I think it would be more likely to happen on the women's side initially, because there's so many players, and the junior volleyball program on the women's side is so huge, and there's so much money being generated, tens of millions of dollars a year generated with girls club volleyball, that seems like the money is available, that if they wanted to, they could find a way to fund a women's pro league, which would only help then, transition and add a men's league as well.
Yeah, right. Well, my very good friend of Mexico, Isaac Gallegos, have a question for you. He says, what does you think, which do you think has been the key of your success in Hawaii, in the program?
Well, it's a number of things. Like I mentioned, I think the popularity is, certainly helped, and the support that we've gotten from people in the community. We've raised a lot of money over years to be able to travel, to recruit, to do the things that we need to do, and that's certainly been a big part of it. I think keeping our staff together now. We've had the same staff for 6-7 years in a row, and that's really significant to have the consistency for not only the coaches but the players as well. And then one of the things we've done is I think we've done a good job of having a message for the guys to buy into, about what it means to represent the program and to represent the state. I think that all athletes and young men are no different, that they want to have something to buy into, something that to be a part of. We've done a good job of identifying that and simplifying it for them to know what it is they have to focus in on a daily basis. So it's not just this treadmill of going to practice and going to school, that there really is kind of a sense of that they are playing for something bigger than themselves, and representing the state is a big part of that.
All right. Well, Charlie, I can assume that football is the #1 program in the university. I'm okay. Do you think volleyball is the #2, or I am wrong?
Well, it would, there's lots of different ways to measure that, right? Certainly football in all the U.S., the major schools that have American football, you need your football team to play well, because they generally play in big outdoor stadiums, and just the revenue that can be generated from the television contracts and ticket sales is significant. We play in a 10,000 seat arena, and football traditionally is played in a 50,000 seat arena. And then the money associated with making the playoffs in both football and basketball are, phenomenal. There's no money in making the playoffs in men's volleyball. We make money for the university in our ticket sales and the television contract, but not the money coming from the NCAA like there is in basketball and football. So, I think in popularity, right now we've been on an ascendant phase, and men's volleyball is a big deal here in Hawaii, but Hawaii likes all of their sport teams, and the more successful you are, the more support you're going to get.
Yeah, of course. How possible? I don't know if in the past Hawaii has hosted a Final Four in volleyball, or maybe in the future you can be hosts of the Final Four.
Yeah, we've hosted before, and we put in a bid through this last cycle. We put in a bid in both. There's a like a 5-year cycle, and I know we put in 2 different bids through that cycle and did not get selected on this time through. I did have conversation with some people from the NCAA while we were in Columbus, Ohio at the NCAA tournament. And he basically said, put in a bid for every year in the next cycle. And that, the year we put it in didn't quite match up what they already kind of had in mind. But there's no doubt that volleyball, as popular as here, it would make money for them. And so I think they want to have it. They just didn't pick us on this last go round. I'm not sure if some of that had to do with COVID, but we'll certainly continue to put our name out there and hope at one point they select us. We do get to host our league championship again next year, and have signed a very lucrative sponsorship agreement for the Big West in men's volleyball. We hosted it in 2019, and we hosted again in 2020. We'll host again in 2021. So we'll continue to try to host postseason events as much as we can.
The host city for the next tournament has been assigned or not yet?
Yeah, it's a 5-year cycle. I believe it's Los Angeles. And then it cycles through kind of the same teams. But I believe next year we're back at UCLA.
Oh, great, perfect. My friend Isaac Gallego has another question. He's a young coach, and he says, which advice can you give to the new generation of coaches?
I'd say, you have, like you said, the first part of it is have something that your players can kind of buy into, and not always just caught up in the ball, the game part of it. If you're trying to build a program and trying to influence their lives, in a kind of a long-term, if you're going to have the same players for multiple years, if you're only going to have them for a short term, like it's this year you have these players and next year you may have a different group of players, then it's more about touching the ball and getting them as many contacts as they can, and really trying to develop, their individual skill. Because as their individual skills improve, then they'll be able to contribute on the teams that they're on. And I think people spend a lot of time on ball control, as they should. And ball control typically is with your forearm platform and your overhand setting. But the ball control that we spend a ton of time and really have over the last 5-6 years is snapping and spinning balls over the net, because that's where all the scoring takes place, both good and bad. So not only do you become more efficient or score more, you become more efficient, you make less errors. So you see a lot of errors, especially service errors and hitting errors. So when you're better at just the kind of hand-on ball contact and you can control it, you'll make less errors. And the team that makes the less errors wins. We've led the nation in hitting percentage for a few years in a row now. And we strive to serve inbounds at about 90%. And that's with almost every guy in the lineup trying to spike it hard. And we've gotten better at the nights that we've served inbounds at 90%, we've won 100% of the time. We had a pretty good night against BYU in the final. Rado was the only one that really struggled. I think if you took his numbers off the board, that we did serve inbounds over 90%, and it really just, it puts a lot of pressure on the other team without giving them those free points. Because if you're going to give up, 5-6 service errors a set, you're just shrinking the game for the other team, and you're not going to win very many times. Not against a good team. You have to be banking on they're going to make as many errors as you are.
Yeah, right. And serve has becoming a stronger weapon in modern volleyball.
There's no question. And with the increase in the speed of serve, also increases the importance of moving your feet and playing the ball in front of you. When the ball is moving faster, and it's not like it's digital. Some try to say that there's no time to move your feet and play it in front of you, and there is time. There's always more time and less time. But you watch tennis players, and the ball's about the size of your fist and going 150 miles an hour, and they don't end up on the ground very often receiving serve in tennis. They're always moving and playing in front of you. So having the ability to serve inbounds at a high efficiency level, and then have the ability to have people to move and to play those kind of serves that are going so fast. And they might not all be perfect passes, but they cannot be aces. Again, you want to shrink down the straight points that you're giving the other team.
Charlie, I was watching on weekdays the match between Japan and Russia in BNL in Italy. And in the first 2 sets, Japan has a 95 of positive receptions. That's crazy. How can you in today's volleyball fight with that with a 95% of positive receptions?
Well, it's obviously a big priority for them and has historically. That's kind of what they hang their hat on. They are really good at it. And if you notice, like, there's not a lot of this. The platform's not going on. They're moving and keeping it. So even if it's in play on the other side, it's still in play. It's not a direct point. They work really hard on keeping the ball in front of them and have been, good at defense and reception. Like you said, historically forever, those teams work a lot at it and are really good at it.
And talking about international volleyball, which school or which way of play do you like from maybe from Europe, South America, North America? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like coaches talk about their system, right? Like how we want our system, and I think we look at it a little differently, where our system changes, certainly year to year, and that mostly based on the personnel you have. It's hard. A guy like Radoslav Parapunov, you're not going to run a lot of fast sets to a guy, because typically faster means slower. And, he's a big guy with the long approach and 6'9". So we needed to keep him up higher and give him a chance to get his feet to the ball and attack it. So that part, I wouldn't say there's one area of the world or one system that I like. What I tell recruits too is my system is, let's figure out what you're good at, and can we put that in the game and get 25 before they do? Because that's the end goal, right? And some years we'll play a little faster. When we had Joe Worsley as a senior, he could run the offense from anywhere, could run fastballs and really accurate. And then, when he left, it made no sense to try to run the same offense. And some of it was Jake was the setter that first year, and we split time with Brett Sheward. And then last year, as Jake really started to come into his own, we started running a little faster, and as he gets his location gets better and gets better timing with the hitters, maybe we'll go a little faster. But I think the part that we believe the most is serving, passing are really important. Being efficient, making the very few errors is critical. And the more people that you have on your team that jump really high and hit really hard, the better you're going to be. If you can play, if all your attackers are at the top of the antenna, the game gets a lot more simple. And whether you're going fast or high, if they're attacking it up at the top of the antenna, you got a good chance to score, and you're just not going to make many errors.
Yeah, right. Of course, like Wallace from Brazil, or like Matt Anderson sometimes, or Dmitry Musersky from Russia. Charlie, I have hosted a lot of international coaches like John Sproul, like Tuomas Amelbuo, like Igor Kolakovic, especially the European guys. They told me a lot, hey, United States volleyball, they have a big advantage above us, because they have a very strong college programs, and Europe is more like a club volleyball. What do you think are the main differences between American style or American school with European style of volleyball? The main differences you can watch.
Yeah, I'm not sure we have big advantages. There's certainly differences, and everyone will try to take advantage what is what you can to work to your advantage. But I mean, I look at the European system, young players that are good and get identified, they start playing with and against adults at an earlier age, and probably are always playing with and against good players. And in the US system, players all through club and through high school and even into college, they'll have players on their team that aren't high level players. The club system, just some kid's dad started the club, so he's on it, and he's not really even an athlete, let alone a high level player. And you always have players like that on your team. So I think that's an advantage that the European system has. You're just playing at a higher level at a younger age, certainly playing against adult men and playing, against a bigger block. You have to learn how to use the block. A lot of players in the US at a young age, when they physically dominate, they don't really learn how to hit with much range, or don't learn how to use the block, because they're always over it, or block just isn't very big, and they just exploit it. The advantages for the U.S. system at the college level is because of American football, predominantly, there are unbelievable facilities. You know, the myth that is amateurism. You know, the college game in the U.S. is professional at a very high level, and you look at everything from the medical staffs we have to the, you know, the equipment, the facilities, and the strength training facilities because of the football component that these guys, you know, the game may not be very sophisticated, but it's physical. I mean, you see guys coming out of the collegiate game that are big, strong, and, you know, they got to learn, like I said, learn the game a little better, but they can play at a really high level because physically they've been lifting weights now for 5-6 years and are strong and you know, can hit and block and serve at a high level.
Oh, pretty interesting. Thanks a lot, Charlie. What can I tell you about the celebrations? The celebrations in Hawaii. You have a parade when you came from Hawaii. It's the people is really involved with the team, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. You know, it's very humbling to see the amount of support that we get, and people just take such pride and such joy in seeing our success. And again, this wasn't an overnight thing. You know, volleyball's always been successful here, and certainly this group of guys have been really successful, and our program's been playing at the highest level for the last 5-6 years. And it's really all over the state. You know, this past weekend we were on the island of Kauai, and they came out, unbelievably supported us. And, you know, and again, you're getting recognition from the mayor and the senators and all of the community leaders and politicians throughout our whole state. Just take a lot of pride and you know, really supporting us at a level that I said is very humbling. We couldn't be more thankful the kind of aloha that we're shown here just every day.
And Charlie, for the next year, for the next season, how many seniors left the team? Always is difficult. It's difficult to be back-to-back champion. Long Beach did it. Which adjustments do you think you have to do to keep the team in a very competitive way?
Well, I would think. I mean, so we made the tournament in 2015, and you know, been in it, you know, a handful of times since then, and really been close every year. So we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. I mean, we think we're very good at developing players. You know, we've taken players who were not highly recruited and turned them into some of the best players in the world. And really the buy-in that we get from our guys and their commitment to not only when they're in the gym with us, but I mean, really part of their success is the amount of time that they spend on their own. It's so important to them that they're in working out on their own, getting reps on their own. You know, our strength coaches do a great job in helping them get bigger, faster, stronger. But again, the commitment from the players is they lift and condition additionally on their own. So we'll just keep doing what we've been doing. We know we have a lot of good players. We lost obviously some just extremely talented players. You know, and there has been, you know, whether it was Loyola or Ohio State and then Long Beach, the teams that have won back-to-back, I think even Irvine in that cycle, they largely had the same team, you know, and that was our same team that we had in 19 and 20 and 21 was largely the same group. So that's a big piece of kind of, you know, repeating that kind of success. But like I said, we've got good players in the program. We had 2 freshmen and sophomore on the floor when we won the championship last month. So we know we've got a good place to start. And like I said, the group that we've had in practice, we've got guys that have been in the program now for a few years, and it's going to be their turn to step on the court and play at a high level.
Because Rado was a senior, right? He's going to play
Correct.
for Serbia, for Vojvodina with Slobodan Boškan, and Colton Cowell also was a senior, right?
Correct. And Pat Gassman and Gage Worsley would have been a senior if not for COVID, but he graduated and he's going to play professionally in Bulgaria this year.
Okay, great. Charlie, it has been a great talk. I have one last question for you. I know that you in Hawaii have great food, but which real Mexican food do you like the most?
Machaca con huevos.
Oh, really? It's a great dish, machaca con huevo.
Yeah, that'd be my favorite.
Do you have a Mexican restaurants over there in Hawaii?
Not great. They're okay, but not great. And so when I go back to California or different places, maybe in Texas, I was just in Nashville, Tennessee earlier this week, and I saw a Mexican restaurant. I'm like, yeah, I'm probably not ordering Mexican in Nashville. That's like ordering seafood in Denver. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. So and that's kind of how I judge a Mexican restaurant. It's typically what I'll order, and kind of judge how good a restaurant they are on how well they prepare my favorite dish.
Have you ever been in Mexico or not yet?
Oh yeah, when I lived in Southern California, there was always the trips down to Ensenada
Tijuana, Cabo,
and Rosarita, and then spent some time, played in some tournaments down in Puerto Vallarta. That's going back a couple decades, but certainly been there a number of times.
Well, my very good friend Anelisa Ramirez from Torreon, Coahuila, she's a very good friend of Viviana Candelas. And congratulations to Coach Wade and all the boys. Amazing year with the University of Kentucky in the women's side, and Hawaii winning the championship. It was a great year to Kentucky, right, too?
Yeah, that's a guy too. Skinner's been around a long time. He and I coached girls together way back in the day, 20 years ago, as was the team he played against, Jared Elliott, so it was a year for some guys that have been around a long time and hadn't won to break through and win this year.
Well, congratulations again, Charlie. Do you want to say some final words for all the people who are watching us?
No, just appreciate you having me on, and it's a great thing that you do to promote volleyball all over the world, and we know that we've got the greatest sport on earth, and just love to see it continue to grow and thrive, and thanks for all you do for our sport.
Oh, thanks for all the guests. Yeah, today is, as I told you, the episode 165. People from 30 different countries in the 5 continents, 50 of them in English, Hall of Famers, Olympic medalists, etc. It has been a great journey from last year to today. Thanks a lot for being here, Charlie.
Thank you. Aloha.
See you.